Welcome to the Haunted Quill.
In a world far beyond the reach of ordinary maps, where the sky seemed to stretch endlessly and the stars shone a little brighter, there lay a forest older than memory itself, a place known only in hushed legends as the Whispering Forest. This was no ordinary woodland. Its towering trees rose like ancient sentinels, their thick trunks covered in moss and runes that glowed faintly in the twilight, as if they carried the light of forgotten stars within them. The canopy above was a tapestry of shimmering emerald and silver leaves, fluttering softly in a breeze that always seemed to carry faint echoes of laughter, distant songs, and whispered secrets from long ago. The ground was blanketed with soft, velvety moss, cool to the touch, and scattered with delicate wildflowers that glowed faintly in the moonlight. Bluebells and starflowers, their petals shimmering like tiny galaxies. The air was thick with the sweet, earthy scent of pine and lavender, mixed with something else, something ancient and intangible, like the fragrance of a dream you almost remember but can't quite hold on to. At the very edge of this enchanted place, where the first trees met the rolling meadows of a quiet village, lived a young girl named Leora, whose heart had always been tuned to the magic of the world around her. Leora was unlike the other villagers. While they tended to their fields and spoke cautiously of the forest's mysteries, Leora would sit for hours at her window, her eyes tracing the shifting patterns of light and shadow beneath the trees. Her hair fell in soft waves, the color of twilight, and her eyes, wide and curious, shimmered like pools of midnight, reflecting the flickering glow of the forest beyond. From the day she could walk, Leora had felt an invisible thread connecting her to the forest, tugging gently at her soul whenever the wind rustled through the trees. The villagers spoke of the Whispering Forest in hushed voices, warning of spirits that lured wanderers deep into the woods, never to return. But Leora felt no fear, only an aching curiosity, as though the forest itself was calling her home. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in hues of gold and violet, Leora would sit at her window, her chin resting on the windowsill, listening intently for the soft whispers that drifted on the breeze. Some nights, the whispers were faint, like the rustle of silk against skin, but other nights, they were clearer, gentle voices weaving stories of ancient guardians, hidden realms, and forgotten magic. On the night of the harvest moon, when the moon rose full and heavy, casting silver light across the village rooftops, Leora heard something different, a voice, clear and melodic, that seemed to speak directly to her heart. "Leora," the voice murmured, soft as a sigh and sweet as a lullaby, "the heart of the forest awaits you." The words sent a gentle shiver down her spine, but it wasn't fear she felt. It was recognition, like hearing a melody from a forgotten dream. Unable to resist the pull any longer, Leora wrapped herself in her softest cloak, its deep green fabric blending with the night, and slipped quietly out of her cottage, her bare feet cool against the dewy grass. The village was silent, its streets bathed in moonlight, and as Leora crossed the fields toward the forest's edge, the only sound was the soft crunch of leaves beneath her feet and the distant hoot of an owl. As she reached the first line of trees, the forest seemed to part for her, the branches swaying gently to reveal a narrow, winding path that glowed faintly in the moonlight. The moment she stepped beneath the canopy, the air changed. It grew warmer, thicker, as though the forest had been holding its breath, waiting for her arrival. The whispers grew louder, though they weren't frightening. They wrapped around her like a familiar song, guiding her deeper into the woods. Fireflies began to appear, their golden lights flickering like tiny lanterns, illuminating the path ahead with a soft, otherworldly glow. As Leora walked deeper into the forest, she noticed the trees weren't just whispering, they were humming, a low, melodic sound that vibrated gently in her chest, as though the forest itself had a heartbeat. The path twisted and turned, leading her past crystal-clear streams that tinkled like wind chimes, and over ancient stone bridges covered in ivy, their surfaces worn smooth by time. At one point, she passed beneath a tree so wide that it took her breath away. Its roots twisted like sleeping serpents, and its trunk was etched with symbols that glowed faintly as she passed, as if acknowledging her presence. The deeper she ventured, the more the forest seemed to come alive. She glimpsed creatures in the corners of her vision, small, glowing beings with delicate wings, peeking at her from behind moss-covered stones and between the ferns. They didn't speak, but their presence was comforting, like old friends welcoming her back after a long journey. After what felt like both moments and hours, the passage of time in the whispering forest was fluid, slipping through her fingers like water. Leora arrived at a clearing unlike any she had ever seen. In the center of the clearing stood a tree far larger and grander than any she had encountered, a tree that seemed to pulse with light, its branches stretching high into the sky as though they were trying to touch the stars. This was the hardwood tree, the ancient soul of the forest, its bark shimmering with silver light, and its leaves glowing softly like a constellation brought to earth. The whispers quieted as Leora approached, replaced by a deep, resonant silence that felt sacred and full of expectation. She reached out, her fingers trembling slightly, and placed her hand against the tree's warm bark. The moment she did, a gentle warmth spread through her, as though the tree was sharing its ancient memories with her. Visions flooded her mind of the forest as it had been long ago, vibrant and full of life, of guardians who once protected its magic, and of a time when humans and nature lived in harmony. Among the visions, she saw herself, not as she was now, but as a part of something larger, a thread woven into the tapestry of the forest's story. The realization settled over her like a soft blanket. She was not just a visitor. She was a part of this forest, connected to its magic by something deeper than memory or time. As the visions faded, the tree's whispers returned. But now Leora could understand them. They spoke of balance, of healing, and of the role she was meant to play in protecting the forest's heart. The tree gifted her a small, glowing seed, its light pulsing gently in her palm, and she knew, without being told, that this was the key to restoring the balance between her world and the forest. With the seed safely tucked into a small pouch at her side, Leora felt a peaceful strength settle within her, as though the forest's heartbeat now echoed in her own chest. The path back felt shorter, though no less magical. The creatures she had seen earlier followed her, their tiny lights weaving in and out of the trees like a living constellation. As she neared the edge of the forest, the whispers softened to a gentle hum, a promise that the magic would always be with her, even when she stepped back into the ordinary world. When Leora emerged from the trees, the first light of dawn was painting the sky in soft pinks and golds, and the village lay quiet and peaceful in the morning mist. She returned to her cottage, slipping inside just as the sun began to rise, and placed the glowing seed on her windowsill, where it pulsed gently with light. The days that followed were filled with quiet changes. The villagers noticed the forest seemed warmer, more inviting, and the once muted songs of birds filled the air again. Leora tended to the seed, watching as it grew into a small, luminous sapling that seemed to hum with the same melody she had heard in the forest. Though she lived in the village, her heart remained tied to the forest. She visited often, walking its familiar paths, listening to its whispers, and learning its secrets. The villagers began to lose their fear of the forest, drawn by Leora's quiet confidence and the gentle magic that seemed to follow her wherever she went. The balance between the village and the forest was slowly restored, and with it came a sense of harmony that hadn't existed in generations. Years passed, but Leora never grew old in the way others did. The magic of the forest flowed through her veins, keeping her spirit young and her heart open. She became known as the guardian of the whispering forest. Though she never thought of herself that way, she was simply Leora, the girl who had listened to the whispers and followed them home. On quiet nights, as the moon rose high and the wind rustled through the leaves, she would sit by her window, the glowing sapling, now a tall, radiant tree outside her cottage, and listen to the forest's song. And if you were to walk past her home on such a night, you might hear it too, a soft, gentle whisper calling you to the heart of the forest where magic lives and dreams are never far away.